both of them knew, both Nico and Lewis knew that it was one of those two winning the year. They knew, by the way, before we turned the first wheel at the first race. And so it took quite a while. But my role in this was I constructed a document that created some very clear how we are going to work with each other, how we're going to fight each other. Some, what at the time was called rules of engagement, changed later to another term that was less military, but racing intent. But irrespective, it was some really clear boundaries on this is how we're going to behave and this is how we're going to perform. And there was a lot to do. And it started with this, and it starts with an ethos that I believe in today, but the whole first page was about being a sportsman. And to explain it, you can win a world championship, but if you've done so in a way that is not fair and sportsmanlike, you will have regrets for the rest of your life. Yep, you have a championship to your name, but it'll be sullied, it'll be muddied, it won't be pure. We, at the time there, we want to win things by doing things just better than everyone else, not because we've found other mechanisms. We just want to be better than everyone else. And that applies to the drivers as it does to the engineers within the team, as it does to the designers. And it was very much bringing them on that journey and making sure they're aware that you can become the best sportsman in the world, which will create a legacy beyond many, many years. Or you can win a race by doing something that has perhaps forced or hurt or damaged your teammate. Which one do you want to go down? And it's a very simple choice when you present it to a sportsman. Ultimately, they want the one that creates legacy in many years to come. Michael, incredible man, but still marred by 1997 in many regards. It stands out in everyone's mind. And we created the mindset that that's not how I want to be remembered. I want to be remembered that we were a dominant force working together. And between the two of you, within these rules, the fastest driver across 20 races will win. Not the fastest driver on a weekend, not the one that's done something that's maybe benefited them in the short term, the fastest driver on 20 races. And we'll construct it and make sure it's built that way. And we'll give you each equal opportunity. And they bought into it. And that created a good environment. It doesn't mean that in time we didn't have a breakdown. I mean, everyone will remember 2016 Barcelona.
You're talking about when Lewis and Nico crashed into each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Still sticks in my mind today because you're taking two elite sportsmen that were constrained within their boxes and just got frustrated. But actually, what you do at the time is you don't back off. You double down and go, this is how it's going to be.
Can you tell us what you learn from these great drivers, whether it is Nico Rosberg, who won a world title, Lewis Hamilton, multiple world champion, Michael Schumacher, one of the legends of the sport? They're all enigmas in their own unique way. They don't share too much because I think they sometimes, particularly when they're still competing, they worry that it maybe removes either some of the magic around them or gives some power to their competitors. You've been as close as you can ever get to multiple world champions. What separates them?
They're all different. As every human in this room is different, they're all different to each other. There's literally very few characteristics. You would have thought, this is what makes a world champion. It's these characteristics. It's not. So if I take you through them one by one, Michael, he taught Nico how to work really hard. Michael wasn't the most skillful in the car. I've already said that was Lewis. But he knew how to extract every millisecond out of himself and every millisecond out of the team. He was a leader that absolutely, he would say, I'm going to go this way. The team would follow him there. So much so that both sides of the garage wanted him to do well. So much so that one of my regrets in my career is we didn't get a win for him. That still hurts me today. Yeah. He deserved a win.
And how did he take people on that journey with him?
A couple of things. So first and foremost, he had a genuine interest in who you were and your life. I went motorbikeking on track with him, as in race bikes on track with him in Paul Ricard, and we had the time of our lives. We both still laugh about it for many years after that. He knew at the time my partner's birthday, flowers arrive at home, and it embarrassed me because I didn't do that much. He would take a genuine interest in who you are, who your family is, what drives you. Every single person in the team. And that's hard to do. And it's not because he's doing it because he wants to gain advantage. He does it because he really cares. That's Michael. The Michael you had front facing in front of the media is a very different Michael to what was behind the scenes. Right. And that's how he did it fundamentally. So he would bring everyone on the journey and lead everyone on the journey. He would extract he would squeeze himself for every millisecond he had. He would work as late as he needed to, every hour he needed to. That was how he operated. Right. And Nico learned a tremendous amount from him. It formed the Nico that then became a world champion ultimately, which is squeeze everything out of you can at the cost of everything else.
Yeah. So much so you end up having to leave after winning that world title.
Yeah, exactly that. The sacrifice I talked to you about before that was painful to me, where you let go of family and friends and loved ones, he did for that year. And he decided, and all the respect to him for it, that actually that's not the life he wanted. Lewis just had these, as I said, it's this oodles of natural talent. And with him, he's got these tendencies and traits where when you go out in FP1, he's like an octopus all over the wheel. He'll change every setting on the wheel near enough and explore it. But it's what makes him incredible. And if I give you an example of it, there was a time where on simulation in Brazil, it said hold sixth gear up the hill. Go into seventh gear up the hill. And within 2 laps, Nico was doing exactly as we asked him to do. Within 2 laps, Lewis went, this doesn't feel right, back down to 6, and was finding a 10th there. And it took until the end of the session before Nico saw the data and saw that. He's this optimizer that he'll use data as a starting ground, but he's got a feel beyond anything else for it. And he has no issue exploring the boundaries. And that originally manifested itself in, you'd often see him go off at turn 1. He'd find the absolute limit of braking and it would just push him wide at turn 1, then they bought the lap. And one of our biggest frustrations with him was that out of 20 laps, he did 1. You're like, come on, you got to do more than that. And actually, if you look at the maturity Lewis had between 13 to now, you'll see he completes every lap. He's now found a way of still gaining the experience of the remainder of the lap out of it. But it was this perfectionist that wanted, and braking was his strength, his forte, maximize everything under braking. And then I know the limits of the car, and then I can build from there and get into the rhythm of things. But his is, because he's explored all these boundaries, he knows in just a few laps in FP1, and he learns the track incredibly quickly, what the boundaries of the car is, what the limits are already within his tools that he has available on the steering wheel, which are quite fast for what it's worth, and understands therefore how to get the car into the right positioning for as the grip comes up. Very, very impressive. Where others are still just spending 7 or 8 laps learning the track, he's explored quite a bit of the boundaries. Now that came with some downsides often. Often he would change the car so quick on that you'd lose yourself. Certainly as engineers, it's difficult when your data's all moving, the track's moving, the grip's moving, the driver's moved everything on the steering wheel, you don't know where you are, and then he comes in and we've changed mech bell and aero balance. You think, okay, we're starting from scratch here, basically. And that's some of the reasons why at times you'll see Lewis drops backwards. And often when he jumps forwards again, he's gone to a setup that's known, and now he's back on the money. But he's able to do that, and many drivers aren't. He's able to explore off and accept they'll have a whole session, perhaps in the wrong place on setup, but he's learning from it. And that's Lewis all over.